Anaconda, Montana, a peaceful mountain town nestled in the Rockies, known for its close-knit community and serene landscapes, was forever changed on August 1, 2025. The day began like any other, with the sun rising over the tranquil streets, casting a golden hue on the town's historic buildings. But that morning, the routine was shattered when a gunman entered the Owl Bar and opened fire, disrupting the peace with the sound of gunshots. In a matter of moments, 4 lives were tragically cut short, turning a familiar gathering place into a scene of terror and chaos. News of the shooting spread rapidly through the town, plunging the community into a state of shock and profound grief. The once quiet streets were now filled with whispers of disbelief and sorrow. The victims were not strangers, they were neighbors, friends, and family members. The loss was deeply personal, affecting everyone in the tight-knit community. The Owl Bar, once a symbol of community and camaraderie, had now become the epicenter of a heartbreaking tragedy. The sense of safety and security that had always defined Anaconda was suddenly replaced by fear and confusion. Residents were left wondering how such a horrific event could happen in their peaceful town. Police and emergency crews rushed to the scene, but the shooter had already disappeared into the shadows, leaving behind a community in turmoil. The town's quiet was replaced by the wail of sirens and the flash of emergency lights, a stark contrast to the usual calm of Anaconda's nights. The community gathered for a candlelight vigil, standing in silence, their faces marked by grief and the haunting question, why here? Why now? The investigation began immediately, with detectives working tirelessly to piece together the events, but answers were scarce and the motive remained unclear. Anaconda's journey through loss and uncertainty had just begun. The town, draped in mourning, faced a long road to healing and recovery. The quiet morning was gone, replaced by a long road to healing. The resilience of Anaconda's residents would be tested, but their spirit remained unbroken as they came together to support one another in the face of unimaginable tragedy. The gunman fled the Owl Bar in a white truck, his tires screeching as he tore away from the scene into the deepening dusk. Witnesses inside the bar were left in shock, some ducking for cover, others frozen in disbelief as the reality of what had just happened began to sink in. In the confusion, the shooter vanished into the night before most even realized the danger had passed. The parking lot, moments before filled with laughter and music, was now eerily silent, illuminated only by the fading taillights of the fleeing truck. Police quickly issued an alert, broadcasting the vehicle's description across Montana. Dispatchers relayed urgent messages to every patrol car, hoping to intercept the suspect before he could disappear for good. The search rapidly expanded from Anaconda's quiet streets to the vast, untamed wilderness that surrounds the town. Officers knew the landscape would make the hunt even more challenging, with endless places to hide. Soon, the white truck was found abandoned near Stumptown, on the edge of town. Its doors hung open, and the engine was still warm, suggesting the suspect had only just escaped on foot. Now on foot, the suspect disappeared into dense forests and rugged hills, leaving only scattered footprints and broken branches behind. The thick underbrush and steep terrain offered countless places to hide, making the search even more desperate. The manhunt shifted from roads to wilderness, complicating the search as officers had to navigate treacherous ground and unpredictable weather. Officers combed miles of difficult terrain, moving cautiously but urgently, knowing the suspect was armed and dangerous. Every shadow and sound in the forest could be a threat. A perimeter was set up, but the vastness of the area made containment nearly impossible. The dense woods and winding trails meant the suspect could be anywhere or nowhere at all. Every hour the suspect remained free heightened the tension, as officers and townspeople alike wondered what might happen next. The search became a race against time and the elements. As night fell and rain began to fall, visibility dropped, and the temperature plummeted, making the hunt even more dangerous for everyone involved. Law enforcement coordinated resources, setting up a command center and bringing in search dogs, helicopters, and volunteers, determined to prevent further tragedy and bring the suspect to justice. The community watched anxiously as the manhunt unfolded, neighbors gathering in small groups, sharing updates and fears, hoping for news that the danger had passed. The initial hours were filled with fear, uncertainty, and relentless pursuit, as law enforcement and the people of Anaconda braced themselves for what the night might bring. Authorities soon identified the suspect, Michael Paul Brown, age 45. Brown had a history of minor offenses, but nothing that hinted at the violent turn his life would take. His identification sent shockwaves through the small community of Anaconda, Montana. Brown was declared armed and extremely dangerous. The public was warned not to approach. The local police force, along with state authorities, ramped up their efforts to locate him, setting up roadblocks and increasing patrols in the area. Shockingly, Brown lived next door to the Owl Bar, making the crime feel even more personal. The bar was a popular local hangout, and many residents knew Brown as a quiet, unassuming neighbor. The attacker was not a stranger but a neighbor, deepening the community's sense of betrayal. People who had once greeted him warmly now felt a mix of fear and anger. Law enforcement quickly secured Brown's home, searching for evidence and any sign of his return. They combed through his belongings, looking for clues that might indicate his next move or his current whereabouts. The house was cleared, but Brown remained at large. The search extended to nearby woods and abandoned buildings, but each lead seemed to end in a dead end. His name and photo were broadcast statewide, transforming the manhunt into a targeted pursuit. News outlets covered the story extensively, urging anyone with information to come forward. The public's anxiety grew as Brown's face appeared on every screen. Social media buzzed with updates and speculation, adding to the tension. Officers now knew exactly who they were hunting. They reviewed his criminal record, interviewed acquaintances, and pieced together a profile to predict his next move. The search for answers intensified, but the motive remained a mystery. Why had Brown, a seemingly ordinary man, committed such a heinous act? Anaconda was left to grapple with the reality that the threat was one of their own. The sense of security in the tight-knit community was shattered. The hunt for Brown became personal for everyone involved. Friends, neighbors, and law enforcement officers were all united in their determination to bring him to justice. As the search continued, details of Brown's background emerged. He was a U.S. Army veteran, serving as an armor crewman from 2001 to 2005, including a combat tour in Iraq. Brown's military experience meant he was skilled in survival, navigation, and firearms, making him a formidable fugitive. After active duty, he joined the Montana National Guard for 3 more years. In total, Brown spent over 7 years in uniform. Law enforcement recognized they were searching for a trained soldier, not an amateur. Authorities shared his background but avoided speculation about motive. Brown's military service explained his ability to evade capture, but not his actions. Many veterans return home peacefully. Brown's path was different. The focus remained on apprehending a dangerous, well-equipped suspect. The community struggled to reconcile his service with the violence he unleashed. By the second day, the manhunt grew into a massive multi-agency operation. The Montana Division of Criminal Investigation took charge, joined by the FBI. Federal resources brought aerial surveillance, advanced tracking, and tactical teams. The search focused on the rugged foothills where Brown's truck was found. Officers moved cautiously through dense forests and steep ravines, alert for any sign of the fugitive. The work was exhausting and dangerous, with every shadow a potential threat. The nearby Montana State Prison was placed on lockdown as a precaution. Authorities worked to keep the public informed and dispel rumors. The search area was vast, the terrain unforgiving. Law enforcement's determination was matched only by the community's anxiety. The hunt for Brown became a test of endurance and resolve. The shooting and manhunt left Anaconda shaken to its core. Fear replaced the town's usual sense of comfort. Residents locked doors and stayed inside. The presence of a fugitive in the hills cast a shadow over daily life. The victims were friends and neighbors, making the tragedy deeply personal. The Owl Bar, once a place of joy, now symbolized loss. Anxiety grew as the manhunt dragged on, with every update watched in hope and dread. Law enforcement's presence was a constant reminder of the danger. Yet the community showed resilience. Neighbors checked on each other, support was offered, and grief was shared. Anaconda was united in mourning, but also in determination to endure. The town waited for justice, clinging to hope for safety's return. Life was disrupted, but the spirit of the community remained unbroken. The search for closure continued as the days passed. Law enforcement's response was swift and coordinated. Local officers secured the Owl Bar and began the investigation within minutes. The Montana Division of Criminal Investigation and FBI quickly joined, bringing expertise and resources. Agencies formed a unified command, essential for a manhunt in such challenging terrain. Tactical teams, aerial surveillance, and public warnings were deployed. Regular updates kept the community informed and safe. The balance between active pursuit and public protection was critical throughout the crisis. As the manhunt continued, Anaconda was left with painful questions. The biggest, why did Brown do it? No motive had been revealed, the victims' names were withheld, deepening the community's grief. Brown's life in Anaconda remained a mystery. Was there a warning sign, or was this violence truly senseless? Investigators searched for clues in his past and home. The uncertainty fueled anxiety about how long the threat would last. The town looked to law enforcement for answers, but only time would tell. For now, Anaconda endured a painful wait for resolution. The manhunt for Michael Paul Brown continues in the wilds of Montana. Brown, a combat veteran, remains armed and at large after allegedly killing 4 at the Owl Bar. Local, state, and federal agencies are united in the search, focused on the dense foothills where he vanished. Anaconda remains on high alert, its residents gripped by fear and uncertainty. The investigation presses on, with the motive and victims' identities still unreleased. Law enforcement's top priority is public safety as the search intensifies. The community waits, hoping for a safe resolution and a chance to heal. Patience, vigilance, and unity are needed now more than ever. The search for safety and for answers is not over yet.